This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. What you have on screen now is a golden woodpecker. My name is OBAKENG, and welcome on board to your very live safari coming straight from the heart of Africa. This is a male golden-tailed woodpecker. He's busy constructing a nest right there. Welcome to your own live safari from Africa, Tswalu Kalahari. Behind the camera there, we've got Dave doing a very excellent job. A very beautiful day here in Tswalu. In the mid-30s is our temperature. Ms. OBAKENG, and we'll be taking you through in the Kalahari here. Look at what he's just done, gone right inside. So when we first saw this golden-tailed woodpecker, he was just starting to construct the nest, but you can see how deep he's actually managed to go, and chances are that would impress a female. So he's done a very excellent job right there. We'll stick around and see if a female just comes by. I've been hearing a little bit of contact calling between the two of them, so hopefully we'll see the female maybe coming to inspect in the near future. Oh, look at that. There he comes. You can see it's a male. If you look on the chick, there's a red stripe just under the bill, and that's what gives it away that that is a male. The females would have more of a, it looks like a more dark without that red on the underneath the bill there. So this is definitely the male that's busy constructing there. So let's see what happens next. Look at those legs, Dave. If I can ask you just to go closer to the legs if you can. You can see how he's clinging on there. It's actually known as zygodactyl foot structure, that. And the interesting part about it is with zygodactyl foot structure, it sounds like a very big name, but it simply means that your fourth toe can bend backwards. So your normal foot structure with birds, you find 3 toes pointing forward, 1 pointing backwards. But with these guys, the fourth toe can point forward, or they can point it backwards to have 2 pointing forward and 2 pointing backwards. And that's exactly what he's done there, to cling onto that, just to be able to hold on and get that full grip on the bark of the tree. Guys, we'll stick around for a bit, see if the female does come. And for time being, I'm going to be sending you off to another very beautiful property in Africa.
Afternoon, everybody. Welcome aboard to your very own safari from the African wilderness here at Djuma Private Game Reserve this afternoon, sitting right here on the dam. My name's Henry, on camera, Gerd. So this is how we're going to be taking you to the safari. It's a great day, cloudy. The temperature is 27 degrees, 80 Fahrenheit. Remember, we're coming to you live, where you would interact with us by asking questions. Hashtag WildEarth, or at FC Kids Questions at WildEarth.tv. So then we'll be answering your question from here. We would like to hear from you all. So we came now to a Bevelsuk Dam, where now there's quite a few hippos here having their brilliant time, since they actually spend a lot of time during the course of the day in the water. Well, it's quite actually very good condition weather for them. When they want to, they can come to the lake, or outside of the lake, the bank, feed or rest, sometimes head back to the water again when they feel not safe. It's one of the young ones that is actually right on top of the mother. There, it's not shallow, it's a little deeper for that young one to touch the ground. So what the young one does, when the mother disappears very much into a very deep area, let the young one ride on the top, so that we'll be able to take a breath every now and then. It comes up in a time where they would actually move out of the water hole. This is when it's dark. For them to be able to graze, feed on grasses, they have to move miles away from the water hole as a group of whole bunch of females. Sometimes males stay with them, sometimes move separately, since he do his own business by patrol his territory trail. Rosalind, good afternoon. Welcome to your beautiful show. You want to know how big is a hippo teeth? So they have these 2 tuskers that are sticking out every time as their own defense weapon. So that can be anything from about maybe 20 inches sometimes, and that's how long they get. Sometimes they can get more than that. They grow right up to the skull, and only that piece end that we see always appearing out. So these actually tooth, they are serious a weapon. The hippo need them because they don't have anything else to be able to defend themselves. And they're extremely killer. So I'm going to take another moment here to see anything arrive in here, or then we'll get to see more of this hippo displaying for us.
Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. This male is definitely still inspecting this cavity that he's busy digging. In the background, we are actually getting comms from the female, but I haven't managed to locate her as yet. So I'm still hoping she might still come. Every now and then we get the female calling back or responding to this male's call. But interesting how these birds would actually perk like that without getting concussions. It's one of how people actually intrigued they get about how do they construct these without breaking the bill or breaking the heads. So the nest would be about 10 centimeters. That's the diameter of the hole that he will build, but the depth just depends on how soft the wood inside would be. And as long as the whole bird can go inside, then it's safe. And the female would then inspect, and if she likes, they might modify it a little bit to their comfortability. So that's how they would do it. It's a very intricate system that they have to stick to, and both parties have to be particularly satisfied with it. Okay, back to what I was talking about with the bill and the head not having a concussion there. Is the bill connected to the head has almost like a cartilage or a U-shaped bone that is very soft. So that gives them that ability to actually hammer like that. And it's almost like an impact drill, and also making the bill vibrate at a higher frequency so that the impact of the shaking of the head is higher, or the shaking of the bill itself is higher than the shaking of the head, so giving it more productivity there. So that's how they actually manage to do it without getting a concussion or breaking their bills there. And they will have these long tongues also for trying to get insects and little creatures from these crevices when they start actually making these holes. So that's how the hole would actually start. So I'm going to give him a bit of time and see what he does. Looks like he's just been hanging on the entrance there. I'm not sure what he's really hoping for now.
Now, it's always very important that when you get out of a car to think about what it is that you're looking at and make sure that whatever it is you're looking at does not distract you entirely. I was distracted almost entirely by this plant over here, and in actual fact, I should have looked up a little bit more carefully, because just down the road is a pride of lions. So we're going to go and have a look at them. I'm in no danger. They're a good 150 meters away, so it's not like we're in danger here. So I'm just going to quickly tell you about this plant. I call this plant the diesel plant. And I call it the diesel plant because when you crush the leaves, it smells like it's horrible. It really is disgusting. Oh, it's called Clerodendrum tonatum. Clerodendrum tonatum, I forget if it has a common name, but it's got such a pretty flower. And you'd think that something this pretty would be, well, pleasantly fragranced, but it is not. It is disgusting. Even the flowers don't smell What I shall do is give this to Niels, who is sitting in the back of the car, and I shall give it to him, and I suspect even him, being from the ganglands of Pretoria East, even with his really tough constitution, I suspect that he would find it disgusting. What do you think, Niels? Pretty gross, huh? Not good. Okay, the lions are just down the road. Let's just pop off down there. We were looking for them. They were around here this morning, and I saw them when I went onto the termite mound and looked. I just saw this pale white. I'll show you what I saw. That's what I saw. The first thing that arrested my eyes was the pale white. And that pale white there that you can see is the belly of a lion. And as we zoom closer in, you can see that one of them is looking this way thinking, what a total chop. Can he not see that me and my fearsome family are lying right over here? The answer was no, I couldn't, but then I did. So we'll quickly pop up to them and see what they are doing for the afternoon. I suspect not a great deal, although this is the Talamati Pride, I'm told, and they are known for moving around a bit during the afternoon. They don't normally sleep until dark, but who knows what will happen today. You pull off the road here so we can get a nice sideways view of them. Oh, there's a nice big male there as well. This will be a wonderful sighting. There's much diesel plant that's just popped out of the ground. Hello, chaps. How's that, Niels? There we are. So, about 13, 14 lions and the big male. This remarkable big male has managed to, well, I think defy the odds, really. He was terribly injured during a buffalo hunt well over a year ago, and you know, he looked like he would never walk again. There was one front foot and one back foot badly injured, and he still walks with a horrible limp, but all he does is keep up with the Talamati Pride, and, well, they feed him. I don't think they mean to feed him, but they do feed him, and so he carries on with them, and he's part of a coalition called the Avoca Coalition. Oh, shame. What a tough day it's been, hey? Poor fellow. Oh. He's only had a sort of 12, 13-hour sleep. He must be exhausted. I'm going to go forward now and see if I can see who else is here, how many cubs, how many lionesses.
Back to our male woodpecker. I still haven't located the female, but still very persistent there. But a very interesting thing, you can see just above her head there's another constructed hole, if I can call it that. And it looks like that one wasn't very successful, I would say. But with that being said, other birds could use it. You find things like your acacia pied barbets that would come through and use them. Noel, with the holes in the tree, would the tree die? Now, if you look at how the tree survives, there's what we call a cambium layer. Now, that's the layer just underneath the bark that is responsible for taking nutrients up and down from the roots to the leaves and for photosynthesis to happen. Now, the majority of the tree would still be able to do all of that, even though the woody part of the tree itself has been drilled into. So the tree will still survive. It's not like the whole tree has been dug out or there's a whole chain cut off for the supply of nutrients with the tree from the leaves to the roots and vice versa. So the tree would still survive. In the long run, you might see a little bit of the branches or the twigs around the segment where the hole is maybe dying off, but the whole tree will still survive. That's for sure. The tree is big enough to withstand that. Yeah, for the time being, he looks like he's stopped constructing. So I'm going to give him space. The plan is to try and move on and try and look for cheetahs or something like that for the afternoon. So stick with us and let's see what happens.
Thanks, Audrey. So we're still in this very same position of Bebelusuk Dam. You know, we've been watching this hippo for quite some times now, as they're doing quite a lot of going down and up every now and then. So it's probably that, you know, it's all about happiness. We're actually far from them. Do you kind of sometimes display or yawn? Give a big yawn sometimes. This is where you're able to see these big tuskers they got, which are situated on a lower jaw. And when it does that, usually male, you can see how big it is sometimes. And when they are full grown, that tusk can get up to anything from 50 centimeter long. But you know, depending on the size of animal, for them, they need them for sure for self-defense. When they're out there, they're slightly vulnerable due to the fact that these young ones are all grouped together. And then Dan, good afternoon. Welcome to your lovely, beautiful show. So you want to know the hippo's lifespan. So hippo live, I mean, we're talking about in the wild, anything from 28, 35 sometimes, if it's no natural causes take place, where usually the lion can hunt hippos. And it's been discovered quite a lot of time in this area, where they find themselves sometimes isolated. When they get hunted by lions, usually the whole run back to the water. Those that can't make it, more especially the young one, and get killed a lot of time. So that's why when they're up there, it's all about safety where they are. They prefer to feed near places where the food sources are available, because they don't actually take any grasses, but short grasses. And not grasses just because they don't chew cud. It allows them to able to help a little bit of a digesting take place on their tummy. So we're going to move on, leave this water hole. Hope we find our beautiful leopard soon. That's not a problem. Cool. All right. So we're going to start to head our way out of this water hole, and then we're going to check on the Kalamba, because it's not actually very far away from here. This is where she's been actually seen this morning, where she still had a kill when they saw her this morning, which would be very interesting thing to see how far she's eaten in that young impala. That's why we're checking around this water hole, because sometimes the leopards like to drink quite often when they had something to eat. Even though that was not actually full-grown impala, but what we seen yesterday, you know, until late, afternoon, she wasn't actually able to feed on that carcass, so it could be that they're still there, the meat. And then if the meat is still there, she's still there. I think so. But we're going to find out as we're moving into these directions. Very cool temperature for cats more to be able to do their exercise, do their hunt. So let's find out.
So here we have got the entire pride of lions, some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 lions, including the brute we saw earlier. And quite appropriately, you might be able to see some orange flowers near them, especially towards the left there. That's the one. And appropriately, these flowers are called the lion's eye, which is quite nice because the lions themselves are not showing us their eyes. They are staring at the back of their eyelids. Anushka, I don't know why male lions have elbow hair. I'm not sure that it has a particular evolutionary purpose, other than it being an extension of the mane, and as we know, the mane is a particularly significant part of their sexual signaling and the signaling to other males about their testosterone levels, etc. So it probably serves a similar kind of purpose. Oh, we've got some eyes there, Niels. Look at those. They're almost open. That's it. Open up your eyes. And asleep. I'm surprised to see them completely flat out like this because it's a pretty cool afternoon. It's only about 25 degrees or so. And maybe they'll head down towards the water not too far from here and have a drink a bit later. Who knows? They might just lie here. I suspect they were hunting buffalo last night, and I I'm 99% sure they failed in their hunt because, well, they're not very full. They're not very empty, but they're not very full, and there's no buffalo anywhere near them. I would also say that the position or posture that a number of them have adopted would not sort of go down particularly well in polite circles, shall we say. Yeah, that one particularly, that male there is, well, on display. That one is much more sedate. Now, one of these lionesses has got almost pale snow-white eyes, and I really want to see her and see if we can get a photograph of her, and I don't know which one she is at this stage, mainly because I've only seen two of their eyes. Bit of movement. I can hear a small grunt. See, lions can go bald if they get mange. You'll find that if it gets really bad, they can go bald or bald in patches. By the time an animal goes bald, though, from something like mange, it's on its last legs and it's going to shuffle off this mortal coil. But other than that, and I'm sure there are a couple of sort of skin diseases they could get, which would result in their losing some hair, but I don't think that they would ever go bald completely. I don't think that they get male pattern baldness like human beings do, or indeed female pattern baldness. The male lion's mane's definitely thin as they get older, but really much older, on their last legs kind of older. I have seen 14-year-old lions with enormously long, thick, salon quality hair.
Beautiful. So we now got lucky again this afternoon with our beautiful Tlalamba, the leopard. And she's right up in this marula tree here. You can see how she's sitting comfortably, but not even care that we're around here, closing her eye. It's all about trust. Keep seeing cars, companies every time, then build no threat on them. You can see how she paints. I'm not sure when she's eaten a gnat, but she actually already, I think she's been eating a little antelope. And the water's not far from here, so every time she's thirsty, she just walks straight to the dam where we just saw the hippo, drink, and make her way back to this kill. She won't just gonna leave here until she's finished. You can see just a little bit of baby impala there in that fog of a marula tree. It's well balanced, and she trusted that it's not going to fall off. Always important for the leopard to kill, but host their kill up in a tree. Fiona, you're right. This is actually brilliant. Full tummy. See how she's trying to actually able to paint. But anyway, it's not actually very hot today. When it's hot, you're able to see most likely a lot of a painting more than this. Well, she killed this young impala yesterday morning. And she's been here since yesterday, and today looks like the whole day. Probably even tomorrow morning, I think, if nothing happened, if she don't finish it, she'll be probably still around here. And it's so cool that when they kill, and then they don't actually, nothing goes to waste. They're going to make sure they eat the whole thing before they move on. I'm not moving anywhere. I'm going to sit in this sighting, see what happened.
Yeah, I would say that's true, unless, of course, it's something massive and they can't get at the bones. Then something else has to clean up their waste. But yeah, it's amazing how little of something like that impala will be left after they've been eating it, and how little something like a wildebeest would be left if this pride of lions managed to get hold of it. Huge activity going on here, as you can see. Young males sat up. He's just getting his scraggly teenage beard. Craig, they keep twitching their ears because of the flies, mainly. Their ears have a goodly number of muscles in them, and by just twitching them slightly, they manage to get rid of the flies. If the flies get beneath the fur and start biting at the skin. Young male's the eager beaver of the pride. She certainly doesn't look particularly eager. Not for anything other than a siesta, that is. It really is extremely soporific sitting with lions like this. It makes one want to have a lie down oneself. The one, that one is lying as though she's at a kind of spa day and about to experience an extended tummy tickle. The temptation to walk over and tickle her tummy is strong. I don't think she'd appreciate it, though. I think if I got out of the car now, they'd all react quite strongly. Anyway, I'm hoping desperately that they will, at some stage of the afternoon, get up and do something interesting. So we'll just see what they do. I probably won't spend the entire afternoon here. You know, leopards to see, or certainly places where leopards could be to see. And then maybe they'll start moving a little bit earlier, at least a little bit later. Flies buzzing past. Thankfully, the lion's more smelly than I, or Niels. And so it is they that are attracting the biting flies. I can't twitch my ears quite like a lion. I can move them, which is quite an unusual talent, one of my few.
Welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve this afternoon. We have just gotten into the open grasslands of the southern part of Phinda, and this is the view that we have stretched out before us. My name is Ross, and behind the camera today is Craig. And as I mentioned before, we're coming from the southern part of Kruger in the open grasslands on the western side of Lebombo Mountains. You see how flat and open it is. There's no trees that are really big, noticeable. It's mostly grassland. So we've come into this area to look for grazing animals like white rhino, zebra, wildebeest, and also cheetah. It's a very good area to look for cheetah. And you can see it's quite a rainy day here. It's been raining on and off for the morning into the afternoon. But there's now some patches of blue sky, and we're hoping that the weather plays its part today for us. And you can actually see off to our right the Lebombo mountain range that I was talking to you about earlier, that divides Phinda in two. This side is the open grassy grassland, and the other side is the more dense coastal bush. And you can even see as it stretches out, it's being enveloped in some scattered thunder showers into the distance. So we're going to try our luck, and hopefully that there is some animals that have taken this little brief window in the rain to go about their business. If they haven't fed for the last few hours because of the rain, they might come out to feed. And we'll see what we can find. Also, you can hear, I'm not sure if you can, there's lots of birds calling, also advertising their territories furiously while they can, because while it was raining they would have been roosting and taking shelter from the rain, and they are now seizing the opportunity. So we're going to go explore this grassland now and see what there is to discover. And we're going to send you off to another beautiful location for now.
Beautiful It's a great idea for the animals, especially just after the rain. Everything comes softer for them. It's about the same with our beautiful Tlalamba right up in this tree here. He just now decided to look away from us, but you always still see the tummy hanging up with her beautiful rosette spot. Beautiful as it is, Tlalamba are presence in this area. It's cool that we've been seeing here quite a lot up north. Good afternoon, welcome to your beautiful show this afternoon. A leopard falling out of the tree, I've seen it once, and this is actually a long time ago that it happened when her son actually was pushing her too much to steal her kill. All she does, she was walking backwards, but right up in the tree, not knowing that how far is at the end of the branches, and then from the branches come in the end as she still reversed backwards, and she dropped that height, and luckily enough she just stood up and walked away again. There was no limp or anything, but it was actually like enough height, about 12 meter. So yeah, I seen a leopard fall. And then I don't think it's only me. A lot of time when they fight, most especially, the fight take places up in the tree. Dan, good afternoon. Welcome to your beautiful show. Again, you want to know if the leopards have any enemies? Yeah, they have quite a lot of enemies. So they are beautiful cats, and for sure, the medium small cat. They have enemies as hyena, lions. Of course, even the packs of dog, if they arrive in this area here and they found out there's a kill, I know they won't get up there, but you'll see how they will be very much interested to hop if they would climb, but they won't make it there. So that is actually a serious enemy for the leopards, mostly lion and hyenas. But for them, they always have to make sure wherever they are, whenever they have a kill, just like right now, the kill is got to be hosted up in a tree just for their own safety. Because hyena, they always steal from leopards quite easily. One hyena would steal from big male leopard right straight away. And sometimes you won't going to see in a fight take places. And that leopard is just going to let the hyena win it. The kill right away, just like that. And remember, it's actually not safe for them since they don't actually form group. They're a solitary animal. But for them to be able to survive in terms of killing and, able to sustain their lives, they need properly skills to be able to do that. And for them to ambush the prey, it's a key. But also to make sure whenever they're on a hunt, they aim on a target. But check the safety first. It happens sometimes, maybe there's a lion in the background aiming the very same species that leopard is still hunting on it. So this is one of the safety way for this animal they do out here. But it's so cool, they can climb trees. Lion can climb trees as well, but they can't get up far enough into one of these thin branches where leopard always get away that way, trying to survive, hopping into this one of the thin branches right up. So myself and Gerd, we're not moving anywhere. We're going to stay here, see if she finally got to feed while we're around.
So we've moved about a bit just so that you can see the full extent of this carpet of 14 lions. They're just lying upon the road. Now they're lying on the road for the same reason that if you were walking along one day in an area like this and suddenly felt absolutely exhausted, you might also choose the road for a sleep because it's not spiky. It won't spike you, and it's quite nice and cool.
Sorry, just before I go live. No problem, Andrew. I spoke to James.
It depends entirely on what the noise the lion makes is, Rachie. If a lion is roaring full-blooded, a human being can probably hear them at about 5 to 6 kilometers. You can probably hear each other up to about 10 kilometers. But if they're just making a little contact call, then, won't travel further than, I say, 100 meters or so. It just depends on what noise they make and why they're doing it. So if they're trying to give a full-blooded territorial warn, well, for each other, probably up to 10 Ks. Maybe even a little bit more if the wind's blowing the right direction and there's not too much moisture in the air. Difficult to tell, though, because it's possible to tell, but it's difficult. Because our ears aren't as good as theirs, you'll often see them sit up and look, and then you'll hear that somebody else can hear lions calling in the distance, from closer to those lions. And it's often difficult to tell exactly how far away they are when they can pick up the hearing, or what the absolute furthest distance is that they can hear another lion calling from. And if you start, it's like with most of these things, that you'll read in a sort of average guidebook, they'll give you a fact. And if you interrogate the fact, you'll find that it's actually just an average, that there's hundreds of different factors involved, and you could interrogate all of them in order to get a more accurate answer, such as, the wind direction, the moisture, the air pressure, the amount of vegetation between the lions, and that sort of thing. What you can hear in the background is the Cokie Franklin. There it is. It's a lovely call.
Beautiful, well done, James. We've been also doing the same here. If you just take just a little bit of a moment of a silence, probably able to hear some birds. Right, so all here, it's capital turtle dove. Debbie, good afternoon. Yes, it will land on its feet, right up in there. And definitely they won't just gonna land on either maybe on a rib or on the back. That's, sometimes depend. The falling is not actually about being thrown away, but it's all about maybe lost balance. And they always have to make sure they stand on their feet. So if it's so much pressure of being pushed, it happens. It will fall sideways. And then that's sometimes the results of hurt their probably inside organ and things like that. And it's height enough. If it's height enough, that animal will probably get a little bit of a problem sometime for quite a few days and then get well again. A kind of a strong animal, but they're well built up with very strong claws that are able to balance them even when they're up in a tree. So I'm going to take another moment here. I'm not going anywhere with this leopard.
As you can see, high action here. One of them has just stuck its foot up in the air. Phew! I nearly fell out of the car in surprise. There it is. A lion's paw has emerged from the carpet of lions. Now, I'm just going to move the vehicle very slightly because there's a lioness there. A young one that has got no pom-pom on the end of her tail. And I want to examine whether her pom-pom has been removed in an injury or if she's just sort of, I don't know, without it. I suspect the former. So it's that one there that's just picked its head up and put it back down again. Mike, I don't think anybody knows for sure, and it probably changes depending on the pride, but certainly in many of the prides I've watched, there is a female that will get up earlier than the others and move off, and the others tend to follow her. It's often the oldest female. There we go. You see the pom-pom is missing. I think it looks like it's been chopped off. I wonder if she didn't have a fight as a youngster. I say a lion without a pom-pom is, well, not really a lion. You've got to have a pom-pom if you're a lion, surely. I wonder if she gets picked on and laughed at for not having a pom-pom. If she gets funny nicknames like No Pom, Flat Tail, Rat Tail. Probably not. I don't think the lions pay much attention to how they look. Lynn, that really depends on where the ligaments are injured and what the extent of the ligaments injury. So, let's take the ankle joint, for example, which on the lion is on the back leg, halfway up. Yeah, that's basically it there, just behind the foot. You have got 3 ligaments in your ankle joint. I know this because I've torn them in mine, and I suspect the lion probably also got 3. And a ligament, for those of you who don't know, joins bone to bone. So it's the thing that holds a joint together. And, you know, if you tear a ligament, or if you tear all 3 of those ligaments, then, you know, the lion's going to be in dreadful trouble because it's really going to struggle to maintain the integrity of the joint. And, you know, if it's torn properly, those ligaments will not grow back together, I don't think. But if there's a partial tear in 2 of them, like I did on my ankle once, then, you know, they heal with time. And because lions live in a group like this, they'll just limp along behind the pride and find themselves enough to eat until they're able to move around again. But if they, you know, if they have a grade 3 tear, I think it's called a grade 3 tear in all of them, then quite possibly it'll never recover. I mean, I'm not a medical person, but as far as I'm aware, if you tear your ligaments completely, a grade 3 tear on more than one, I think you have to have them surgically sewn back together. But if you have a grade 2 or grade 1 tear, then they'll kind of heal on their own, and I'm sure it's the same for lions. But again, it depends which ligaments you tear, and if you just strain them and stretch them, or what the story is. So you've got them in your elbows, your wrists, anywhere where there's a joint, you have ligaments, your shoulders. It's an extremely peaceful afternoon. No, Yaku, lions don't get tick bite fever in the same way that we do. I suspect they can probably get a mild infection from ticks. But remember that they live in this area their whole lives. They develop an immunity to whatever naturally occurring pathogens there are out here for the most part. Even stuff like mange eventually stops affecting them. I know that the Djuma Pride, who we've been watching forever and ever, had mange run through the Pride a few times, and none of them have succumbed to it. So, something like tick bite fever or tick-borne diseases here, very unlikely to cause a huge amount of damage. I suspect that a little bit like those of us who've spent a long time out here, I've had tick bite fever in this area, and then I've had tick bites again, and I've had sort of mild symptoms. They may get mild symptoms of biliary, but nothing that would, render them either dead or immobile. And that's the thing about lions or any wild animals that live in the area in which they're evolved, and assuming that no other introduced diseases exist, they have evolved to cope with whatever the environment could throw at them. It's when we introduce disease that there's a problem, and the wild dogs are a really nice example of that. When they come into contact with domestic animals, they get canine distemper quite often, and that obviously is devastating to their population. And lions too, when they come into contact with buffalo that have caught domestic cattle diseases, lions too can get those domestic cattle diseases like bovine tuberculosis, which can affect them quite badly. But naturally occurring things like tick bite fever, no, won't affect them.
Great, thanks, James. Indeed. Luckily enough, we have a veterinary taking care of all animals sick out here once we report to them. And here is beautiful Kalamba. You see how she always, every now and then, changing position of her head. Sometimes she faces away from us, and then sometimes she faces straight towards us. All you see, it's a nostrils sticking out right close to that little branch, is sticking right straight up. All you see is long whiskers. Most cats, it's so important for them to have whiskers because mainly since they are nocturnal, able to help them when they move through grasses, when they're stalking, focusing on their prey, and they control these whiskers forth back, and that allows that animal able to know what is on front. Anything where that animal is going to feed in one places or walk through grasses, once these whiskers sense or touch any twigs, and that the leopard would definitely going to freeze or stop, because knowing that it means the whole body won't going to fit through. So these whiskers, length of them between both sides is so important. It's the length of the whole body of that animal. No matter how big that leopard is, it applies the same. And for them, sleeping up in a tree, it's also one of these safety. And that won't fall for sure from just snoring or dreamed. They pick it up. From there, no, it won't fall. They actually get used to sleep up in a tree. Even the branches is not actually balanced enough. What we see here, she well balanced. If you look at these back legs, are all fit in that little fog of a tree. And the tail just sticking outside on the back side. So she trusted that she's safe in there. Nothing will happen. Even a hyena arrive in the scene here, she will just gonna look at them from that height, knowing that they weren't gonna steal her kill. Unless if there is maybe any lions arriving into scene here, then she has to worry too much because they can reach that top.
Welcome back, everybody, and we've also found two birds that might be looking for a tree of their own. We found two secretary birds right now walking through this short grassland. I don't know if you can see them because they are walking away from us, but they are walking steadily together, a pair of birds, and I think they're looking for some prey to catch and eat in this short grassland. So I say that's a pair of them because secretary birds are monogamous. They mate for life, and what they might be looking for in this grass is possibly, well, they're famous for being able to catch and eat snakes very well, but they also eat any kind of reptile, amphibian, rats, mice, other birds. And we've actually seen this pair of secretary birds now a few times, and always in the same area. And what we think is that they are looking for a site with which to find a tree so that they can make a nest and breed here. It is this time of year that they start to breed. And what they'll do is even though they live in this short open grassland most of the time, they'll build a big platform nest on the top of a tree, like the one that you might be able to see to the right of these birds, and they'll raise their baby in the top of that nest. So have a look at that one secretary bird. Looks a lot darker than the other one, and I think it's got a lot of dirt on it. It's actually trying to clean itself now. Look how it's opened its wing and is running its bill through its wing. I think that also might be the secretary bird just trying to dry itself and keep its feathers in good condition. What this is called is preening. So when birds preen themselves, they actually deposit a small bit of oil from a gland in their bill onto their feathers, and that's especially with birds that live in water a lot, like ducks and geese, but also other birds. This keeps their feathers in very, very good condition. And they do a lot of this kind of thing, taking care of their feathers. Some birds bath in water, some birds actually bath in sand to get ticks and mites off of them. But after rain, they need to keep their feathers in fantastic condition, otherwise they won't be able to fly. And yeah, it looks like these birds are just taking a break to do exactly that. C-Mac, you've asked have I ever seen what their little chicks look like, and no, I actually haven't. I would love to see a secretary bird chick. I know that they are born with, they're kind of only greyish white in colour when they're born, and they depend a lot on their parents to feed them, so they're born very, very helpless. But when they start getting older, they start getting that beautiful yellow kind of skin, orangey colour around its face. But when it's born, it's got like a kind of grey tinge to its face and starts picking up that colour much later. And there can be up to 3 chicks, 3 or 4 in the nest, and then both of the parents will hunt and bring food back to the nest to feed those chicks until they're ready to start to be able to fly by themselves. We call that fledging, and then they'll leave the nest and go off and find a mate of their own. So we're going to try stick with these secretary birds. They might be a bit wary of our vehicle, but we'll try get a bit of a closer look and see if we can watch them feed this afternoon. But for now, we're going to send you off to another live location.
Great, so we now also changed the position here, since the lamb she had also changed her position. She's now facing westwards, but she's not actually showing her head or face towards us anymore. When she stood up there, she just stretched, thought she's going to go right into that kill there. But when I look at that, it looks like there's not much left actually. So this tree is called marula tree, which is actually very important for leopards. They use them quite often because the bark, it's very soft. And when this tree grow up, provide a little bit of pose branches, and which allows most of the cats that climb trees, especially leopards, to be able to use those branches, host their kill, and provide a lot of a shadow as well. When you see that leopard climbing this tree with a full speed, getting chased by anything, could be lions or a hyena, they got into it very immediately and disappear right up. Very good afternoon. You want to know how long do leopards sleep before they go hunting? So that depends on the condition, weather of it today, but they can at least sleep up to about 17, 16 hours sometimes, and could be anything from similar to lions, 18 hours. That depends on how that leopard focus on the hunting. You know, sometimes when they hunt, but then no success, and it's quite hot during the day. Like the couple of days we had a lot of hot that was anything over 40 degrees. Of course, they can nap for quite a long time. Looks like she heard us now. Look at this beautiful face of her. And looking at us, looks like she probably understand what I was saying, but not. So that she probably heard something else. The hearing is great in this type of animals. Beautiful paws as well. Look at this paw. And then the only time you would see this claw, this is when they fight or stretch against the trees. Then they use tree quite often. And they sleep on the ground. When they stood up before they move on, either stretch normally like a normal house cat, but also they would use tree right up and all the stretch take place. But sometimes they can do that by, oh no, look, she's not cooperating. Hey, looks like we're going to have to go back to where she was. Finally, we're just going to see if she maybe just going to play doing that quite often, but looks like where she is right now, because she's been there quite a long time. Maybe that's a good place for her to be. I've been hearing the bird on her background. It's probably because they've seen her here during the course of the day. So I'm not going to move anywhere for now. I'm going to reposition, go back that side.
Oh my word, it sounds like exciting scenes from where you've just come from, but we're still with these secretary birds, and the one has actually flown into this massive fever tree that you can see him in now, him or her. I'm not sure if it's the male or the female, but she's kind of just trying to ride out the wind. It's quite a windy day, and towards the top of the tree the wind is even more strong than what it would be on the ground. And it's exactly this kind of tree that these two secretary birds would look to find in this open area to make their nest in. And they'd try and find a big tree like this because it'd just be a lot more safe for their eggs and for their babies to be high off the ground. There would be lots of animals that potentially would like to eat a baby secretary bird or even their eggs. Water monitors, jackals, even things like leopards and hyenas. So, yeah, I think maybe the secretary bird has come to scout out a possible nesting site here. So, Hui, that's a very, very good question, and I've heard tell of the reason why they've been named secretary birds. And if you have a look, I don't know if you can see the head of this bird. They've got kind of almost like pin-like black feathers that stick out behind the head, there, you can see it blowing in the breeze now. And when they named the secretary bird, they thought it looked like a secretary with a pen stuck behind her ear. And that's one of the legends of why they've been called. I'm not sure if that's the exact reason, but it's just it's an urban legend of how they got their name. And it makes sense, because it does look a little bit like a pen stuck behind the ear, except I haven't seen secretary birds with like 4 or 5 pens behind their ear. That would be quite impressive. And I don't know if you can see in this picture, but they've got this beautiful yellow sort of orange tinge to the skin around their face, and when they get agitated, if they're getting a little bit stressed out by maybe a predator or something coming a bit too close to their nest, that skin will flush with blood and it'll go redder, and that's kind of a sign that you can use to tell that secretary birds getting a little bit irritated. The other bird is actually still hunting off into the distance. Maybe this one in the tree. Oh, look how he's standing and taking off and flying. Wow. That is beautiful. Look at the wingspan. It must be about 2.5 meters long. And what he's doing now is actually soaring low over the grassland, looking for something to eat. And I think he's going to keep stalking off through the short grass to do just that. So we're going to carry on. These secretary birds, even though we've snuck up on them, have given us the slip. We're going to carry on and see what else we can find here.
There was a chap called Ross at Phinda a long time ago. I'm sure it's not the same Ross, who was part of my training course back in the year 2000. I'm pretty sure it wasn't the same guy. Anyway, he was very amusing. He took us on our long walk at the very beginning of our training course, and we resented him deeply for it. Now we've got our lions. This will be our final segment with the lions. We're going to move on from here and see if we can track something else. You will notice that the lions in view have all got good, healthy pom-poms, except for that poor lioness who is pom-pomless. It's quite a nice way to identify the pride, that. If you are like me and seeing a lion's face doesn't immediately spark a recognition, that'll help. And there's also a lioness at the back who's got a hairless scar across her lower back. I have spent very, very little time with this pride of lions. In fact, I've spent very little time with lions at all over the last few months. Leopard lover, I would say that the thickest African cat hair belongs to the belly of a leopard. I would say the belly of a leopard has very thick, luxuriant white fur that I am often, tempted to go and lay my head upon when there is a leopard lying close by. Obviously, I've never done it because I'm still alive. But I would say a leopard's belly fur is by far the softest and thickest and most luxuriant. Now, while these lions are doing absolutely nothing, Niels, here on our tree, this is the falbworm, or the silver cluster leaf tree, and what we have there is a whole lot of flowers, we can see, and also a netwing beetle. Now, the netwing beetle, Niels, if I had a very long stick, I could point it out to you, but I think you've actually seen it. Yeah, there you go. There is a netwing beetle on the flowers of the silver cluster leaf tree. Now, these flowers smell like rotting Stilton. Stilton is basically rotting, and dirty feet at the same time. That is fascinating. So I wonder if this netwing beetle isn't attracted by the stink. This particular one doesn't smell very strong, but it does have a very powerful smell at certain times of the day. Unfortunately, the wind is now shaking that branch. The netwing beetle is enjoying its Stilton for the afternoon. Yum yum. That's cool. Every time we decide we're going to try and show you one of these flowers, we can't find them because not all the trees are flowering, and I'm not sure why that's the case. I'm not sure if it's because they are separate sexed trees, but there seems to be a number of them that don't have any flowers. But this one does. Thankfully, it doesn't smell too bad. Marilyn, I think, as I said earlier, they prefer the dirt because it's not spiky like the grass is, and it's cool and soft and pleasant to lie on, you know, especially on the sides where it's quite thick. So I think that's why they do it. Sometimes they'll choose a nice thick grassy patch, but I suspect that it's often quite spiky, and so, well, they're walking along the road and they've decided to have a snooze here because it's nice and pleasant, basically. It's just more comfortable. They'll often lie on open areas or patches of open area if they're not near a road. So if they're walking through the bush and they happen to stop and there's some shade, they'll seek out shade normally that's got some bare patches in it. And I think that's just because it's more comfortable. Possibly also the lack of ticks on the road makes a difference. All right, I think we're going to press on now and see what else the afternoon has to offer us.
Great, good luck, James. We're still here, sitting with this beautiful Kalamba. We're now trying to reposition again. As you can see, this is actually a different angle. And all she does, her position of her face was lower down towards our position here. But she's probably going to do it again. But it looks like she's struggling to balance her head. She'll probably eventually get it done there. And that meat looks like not much left there, so it's probably that every time she got back there, she's gonna finish it off. Just a little leg standing, remaining. As you can see, it's right there then. So different than yesterday when we got here was a whole full baby impala there. So feeding method, the leopard, they don't really compete. Even though the female with the cubs, they get to a killing position. So what she does, she gives a chance to these young ones. If they're twin, they will be able to control themselves which one goes first, started to eat. No matter how hungry they are, they need to take turns. For that, never somebody is full, and then the other one will go take a place to feed on. And when this young one done, all of them, the mother will return to that kill just to feed. So they won't compete. They don't really compete like lions, cooperate feeding, hyenas and the wild dogs. And leopards don't. But it actually applies the idea of, for them being so much a solitary. So I'm going to take another moment here before I go look for something else, if this leopard do anything while we're here then.
A leopard is something I dream of seeing, but instead we have got, well, my favorite animal, of course, the elephant, and an elephant that we spent some time with this morning on the Sunrise Safari. Perhaps you caught it. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is BK, and we are here at Prrivate Conservancy, which is part of the Tswalu Game Reserve and the Great Kruger. I'm going to go a little bit closer, just because, well, as much as I appreciate staring at the rear end of an elephant, it's not my favorite thing to do. So we'll go a little bit closer. It seems like there's a couple of other bulls. Yes, if you can turn and come onto the road, that'd be great, and then I can stop here, and then it'll all work quite nicely. If he is not going to be accommodating, we might drive past and catch the other Ellie bulls that are on the road just up ahead. I'm just going to try and go past him so that we don't get stuck behind him again. Hello, boy. I'm sorry. Am I disturbing you? I don't mean to disturb you. You can carry on eating your lovely, delicious grass. Isn't this amazing, hey? This explosive green, and then, of course, the very dark, gloomy skies. That makes for quite a pretty picture. It's actually really nice, in fact. And you can see now, I'm not sure what's happening with the weather this afternoon, whether we are going to get rain or not. Some of the clouds look like they are starting to lower, but maybe just a drizzle, but for the meantime, nothing is significant. It did rain last night. But you can see he looks like he's a bit on the damp side. At some point, he must have visited Ndlovu Dam. There was a pool party that happened right outside the eco-training camp around about midday or so. From having a bit of fun. I think they definitely enjoy having fun. And he's now also covered himself in a bit of mud. But I'm not sure if he's going to go back down. It'd be nice if they keep heading, not him, but the other bulls are heading in the right direction. And I also got wind that it sounds like there's a breeding herd around here somewhere. So we shall go searching for them. Leonard, this elephant bull is a youngster, so he's not anywhere near his maximum weight. I would say he weighs maybe about 4 tons, 4.5 tons. About now, he's about the size of a really big elephant cow. We're quite fortunate in the Greater Kruger system. The elephants are enormous. They really do get quite big, including the females. But a big elephant bull, for example, Ezulwini, who is a tusker that passes through here occasionally, he must be in excess of 6 tons. He is a huge elephant. So they can get up to that big. Whether not all male elephants will weigh that amount, maybe about 5 tons, 5.5 tons is about the average weight for a big elephant bull. But he's still got a lot of growing to do. You can see he's also still swishing his tail around. Yeah, that was a good one, hey? That was literally a slap on the thigh kind of a whack there. Must have been something that was biting him between the legs. But we're going to catch up with the rest of the elephant bulls and hopefully find that breeding herd.
What we have here is a Corey bastard. So yesterday we were fortunate.
Sorry about that. Lucky we still got... We lost Tswalu, sorry. And we still have a beautiful leopard. All you see, just a silhouette, beautiful of a tail hanging right on the far side. I was hoping that she can go to feed while we're here. Maybe just before we get here, she was maybe just finish it, feeding on that little baby impala. And then if that's the case, then it's probably going to take another few hours before she returns back to that little impala. Sorry, you want to, leopard lover, can you repeat that question again? leopard lover. Thanks so much for that beautiful question. No, I don't think so. Maybe she's chosen the wrong branches there. What I've seen, she's actually trying to fit herself in that little, and it's not actually the length of the branches, not actually allowing her so much. And every time she lie in one position for a long time, when she want to change to another position, because just like cats, house cats do that as well. And then they find it's not actually allowing her to do that. So she has to now change her position, look on the other side, where it's even worse than doesn't actually, it looks like that branches actually, when she look on the other side, then she's going to have to look lower down, which all this tummy then is going to push too much into the lungs. I think so. That's why she's trying much to look on her position, because that branches allow her to actually look slightly uphill instead of looking down. That's what I think. But yeah, when I look at her tummy, it's actually she full for sure, but I don't think is that a case then. Could be one of those, and you never know with this cat. She's still only, about three years old now. So can you hear all two cars coming in this area, but she's opening her eyes once. So let's take another moment to see if she's going to return back to the queue.
Well, before we've relocated on the elephants, we managed to find something that the elephants have left behind, which is, of course, their dung. They can drop large quantities. And a fully grown elephant will probably defecate, especially in the summer months or the green season when there's much food availability, every hour or so. But here we have the large copper dung beetles. Very busy, as you can see. Dun, 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 going about their day, doing their thing, trying to collect dung quickly before all the other dung beetles come and take it away. That one's very excited. Hasn't started making a little ball just yet. There we go. I think that must be the hardest part, is to find a starting point. No, that wasn't good enough. Right, we need to find something else. I mean, honestly, if I was a dung beetle, I would just perform kleptoparasitism all the time. I'd be very lazy, and I'd just make sure that I gymmed hard enough, and I'd be stronger than all the other dung beetles and just steal all of their little balls that they've made. Although I say little, some of those balls are bigger than a tennis ball, almost 1.5 times the size of a tennis ball, which is quite spectacular, considering the large copper dung beetles not very big at all, maybe 3.5 centimeters in length, maybe a bit bigger than that. So it's quite impressive. Now, I don't know what these dung beetles are making their balls for, if they're just food balls, or are they going to be brood balls, or perhaps, they're preparing an engagement ring of some sort. But they have various uses, of course, as I'm sure you've heard many, many times now. But look at those lovely long back legs, hey? Look at that. They're beautiful. And they have to be exceptionally long like that, as I'm sure you've seen. They roll their balls doing a handstand. So they need them to be able to stretch out and hold on as tight as they can. Here we might have a fight. Oh, too slow. Shame. Yeah. See, this one doesn't look like particularly big. Maybe this is just little food balls that they're all gathering here. Please don't roll it underneath the vehicle, because then I'll be stuck here forever. I don't want to drive over a dung beetle. It's not a fun thing to do. Another one, very busy. And it's also quite interesting how they grasp all of the sort of dung material and bring it closer to the ball. Now, I don't know if any of you ever played with Play-Doh as kids, or putty, or anything like that. I'm sure you all have. It's difficult to make a perfect ball, but dung beetles seem to get it right for the most part. Every now and then you get one that makes an oval-shaped ball, and, well, shame. Perhaps they maybe flew into a tree or the side of the car and aren't able to quite work out how to make a proper round ball that's easy to roll about, because it's not an easy job anyways. Oh, there we've got a fight now. I wonder who created this one. Look at them, how they now use those front legs. And if you've ever picked up a dung beetle before, you'll know that they're not quite barbs, but they're like not barbs. What is the word that I'm looking for? Anyways, they've got like serrated edges on the front legs, and they can hook onto you, and they're really strong. They're very powerful. I got one stuck on my finger the other day. I tried to rescue it from a Ndlovu dam, and then it wouldn't let go of my finger at all. And those that serrated edges really dug in. Luckily, I've got tough hands. Lara Moore, it's been a long time since I've heard from you, so nice to have a question again. But yes, it is like these dung beetles are at a Black Friday sale. I'm sure everybody is gearing up and in anticipation for what they are going to buy.
Dung, probably. Although they can most likely get it for free, I suppose. Here we have got the same Mrs. Saddlebuild Stork that has been living her lonely life in the pans and ponds around the greater Djuma area for the last month or so, I guess. Well, certainly 2 weeks while I've been here. She has got no husband. Perhaps that's by choice. Maybe she's an independent sort of a lady. But normally they occur in pairs. She looks a bit forlorn, doesn't she? One thing I'm ashamed to say I've never noticed before is the iridescence on their feathers. Not on the neck, but on the back there, on the wing feathers. You can see quite a lot of starling-like iridescence. Greens and purples and blues. It's quite nice. All right, my dear, go about your business. Look for a frog. I think they probably like this time of the year when the little pans are getting full and the frogs are coming out. You'd probably quite like it to rain a bit more than it has. I'd quite like it to rain a bit more than it has. Hear a Birchall starling in the background going, kick, kick. Yaku, I think Djuma's had about 100 mils actually this year already, which is quite a lot for November. About 100 millimeters. Which is 4 inches. Four inches of rain. You know, I read something the other day which astounded me. The metric system was devised in the early 1800s. I forget exactly when. And yet still, there are parts of the world that insist in using the imperial system. The UK and the US predominantly. I don't think, in fact, does anybody else? Is it only the UK and the US? I think it's only those two places where you'll still find imperial measures. I'm going to let you in on a secret if you do still use the imperial system. If you're able to do the mental arithmetic to operate the imperial system, it'll take you roughly 10 seconds to learn the metric system. Literally, it's that easy. And your brain will have become so big by doing the mental arithmetic to calculate the complications of the imperial system that, it'll be troubled not one jot by the metric. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Yes, they will try and find another mate, leopard lover. They will try and find another mate if they lose a partner to death. I'll just try and see. I think they're monogamous. I'm just going to check it up quickly. It's mostly monogamous. When we say a bird is monogamous, I don't think that it's necessarily that strict, but mostly. Probably more strict than with human beings, but still probably not that strict. Yes, monogamous. They are monogamous. But as with most of these birds, if they lose a partner, they'll move along. They have a period of mourning, probably I don't know, say 3 or 4 minutes, and then they move on. I'm now going to read to you the Latin name of the saddle-billed stork. I'm not going to guarantee that I'll get it right. Epipyorhynchus senegalensis. Epipyorhynchus senegalensis. I'm not going to spell for you Epipyorhynchus because it's the most ridiculous word I've ever seen. Epipyorhynchus. Epipyorhynchus senegalensis. Good grief. I quite like to check the local names of the birds as well. Do the bills of these storks decay, Debbie? Not on them. No, not on them. When they die, well, it's keratin, so eventually it will decay. Not much will eat it, though. And so, yes, eventually it will decay away and you'll just have the bone, and then that too will disappear. This thing says that in Shangaan, this is huku inhlanga. Huku inhlanga, that means some kind of chicken, but I'm not sure. Huku inhlanga. Maybe it means fish chicken. No, it doesn't. I'm not sure.
Well, that sounds quite interesting. So we're still here at the dung. We're looking at all the other things now. There's so many tiny little beetles and fly-like creatures that I have absolutely no idea what they are. I wonder if that thing over there is like a little dung chafer beetle of some sort. But anyways, like the order Coleoptera, which is the beetle family, is very extensive, and I don't think my insect book really covers all the different types of species. So if you do take any screenshots, please hashtag WildEarth. Let us see them. It'd be nice to see them. There's also that, I don't know if you just saw the bottom right-hand side of the screen. It'll probably appear. There we go. It's almost like a metallic blue, and I don't know, is that a wasp or is it a fly? Is it in the Hymenoptera order or is it in the Diptera order? I have no idea, but they're beautiful though, especially when a bit of light shines on them. So I'm paging furiously right now through my insect book, trying to have a look, but I haven't got a cooking clue, honestly, what they are. But they're probably there collecting moisture. And what's quite interesting though is that they keep rubbing their back legs. They sort of stop and they keep doing that. So I don't know why they're doing that, if they're just cleaning them. Maybe they're depositing eggs also into the dung. Who knows what's really going on here? But it's beautiful, though. Look at that one next to that dung beetle. Now, economists, oh my goodness, I can't even begin to tell you how important dung beetles are. So the ecological role of a dung beetle is essentially to, we'll start with, there's many facets to the subject here, is to remove dung. Now you get certain dung beetles, like what we've got here, the large copper dung beetles that are herbivorous and will only sort of collect up herbivore dung, and then you get other dung beetle species that will particularly go after carnivore dung. So, they've all got their specific roles. So they'll remove that and then they utilize it for their own purposes. Like what I said, they use them to breed in. They lay their eggs in there. They eat the dung, and they also use it as a nuptial gift. So males will present it to a female in the form a way to try and impress her and to get her to mate with him. And then the other thing that dung beetles, of course, is a really good source of food. I mean, look at them. They're in a crazy amount of abundance here. So lots of different animal species will eat them. Lots of the bird species. The hornbills are absolutely loving the dung beetles at the moment. They're gobbling them up. So that's another one. And then their larvae. My goodness, if you've ever seen a honey badger digging in a rhino dung midden before, that is something quite special, and they are particularly going after the dung beetle larvae. Remember, not all dung beetles roll balls and put them down in the ground. You get different types of species that do various things. So some actually just lay their eggs straight up into the dung itself. And that was one of my favorite things, is one of my favorite things to watch. I haven't seen it for ages, but honey badgers, of course, digging up and looking for the larvae. The grubs get quite big, so they'd be nice and juicy. But there are many, many other roles, ecological roles that the dung beetle fills, and even the little flies and other tiny creatures in here. Everything has its place in this imperfect world.
Great. So we eventually got our leopard back to the feed again. It looks like we stay long enough here to actually able to witness this feeding technology is taking place in this cat. Since there's nothing much there, I'm not sure what she's gonna eat the whole thing, or is she gonna just eat a little bit and then go down for water. And I eat repeatedly quite a few times a day, not only once or twice, but more than that. So since this meat, it's hers, she owns it. She eat as much as she could, control it, not to let it off the ground, because then it scavenges. But since we get here, we saw one of the hoof is on the ground, so it means that not even a hyena around here yet, since she got into this position. Because hyena for sure, they're clean. They would take anything that fall off that height. We talk about feeding methods which pluck the fur off the skin. She only takes as much as she can, and the rest remain, but you're able to deal with those remain. But the rest of them, she's gonna have to take it off. Oh, look at this whole bunch of fur coming out of the mouth. She won't swallow that. She will just gonna spit them off. And the temperature allows her since yesterday. It wasn't much hot, so the meat would remain for long refrigerated, so she's lucky with that. Not even an eagle, not even a vulture around here. And those are the type of the birds that they will actually pick up the thermos from the height sky by them flying around. Eventually we'll pick up the scent or smell or the meat. But that didn't happen because of the weather, not allowing those birds to do that. So leopard, most cats build up with this very strong teeth. It's called carnassial teeth, which able to, when she feed, they cut almost like scissors. But that impala is so soft since it was a little baby. It's probably all bones taken at the same time. We weren't gonna see any bone left. Finally the head, skull will be crunched. number of teeth is anything from 32 teeth the leopard would have. So myself and Gert, it looks like it's getting very much interesting here. We're going to take another moment.
We're just going to have a quick look here at our little owl. All is well at home in the house of the owl. The debate continues to rage over its age. I've given up. I don't know how old it is. I'm still going to say, I said 14 days initially. That was when we saw the mother away from the nest. But since that day, she hasn't been seen away from the nest again. So, I don't know, 10-ish, with a confidence interval of 4. It must be older than 6. I'm going to say 10 days, 10 to 14 days. I just want to quickly see it's turned its head very nicely for us earlier. Had a little yawn. Eyes fully open. There we go. There we go. But now it's really not interested. Too cute. Elephant right here.
So warm welcome to our viewers. We're currently here at andBeyond in Ngala, and we're just following a journey of giraffes. Now this one's moving on as a female and there's a male that's just trailing her now at the moment. But look at the beautiful skies in the back. It's been nice and cool, especially later part of the afternoon. You can see how this giraffe is moving with quite a bit of a mission to try and keep up with the rest. Now they are moving off. We might be able to get another glimpse, but we can possibly carry on with our drive. So I'm Nikki, going to be your ranger for this afternoon, and on camera we have Owen. Now, just to give you an idea where we are planning on going this afternoon, so this road is literally an east to west road. So we're going to carry on down this road and hopefully go to the area where there was some lions seen this morning. So what we're going to do is head straight into that area and hopefully give one of the other rangers, Sean, who's also one of the presenters on WildEarth, a hand to try and see if we can find these lions.
Is someone there? Right, Wilson. Sorry, everyone. I'm just trying to direct BK into finding there's the tiniest little dung beetle that's rolling the smallest ball ever. It's somewhere here. It's a little bit further down. It's hiding. Okay, I don't know. Anyways, we'll go back to the big pile of dung that we have there. So shall we just, I'm going to talk about a few things here now because I never get an opportunity to talk a lot of nonsense. And about this particular subject is quite cool too. So we were obviously talking about the ecological roles that dung beetles played, and I very briefly spoke about the most common ones. Now, this dung was deposited here maybe 20 or 30 minutes ago. It really wasn't long. The elephants were just here. We were sitting with the one bull that was just a few meters back, and the other boys moved off. Now, when an elephant dung comes out, I'm sure you've seen, it's compacted into a semi-cylindrical kind of squarish shape, I suppose, depending on how hard they push. That might determine the shape of the elephant dung. But what I'm trying to get at is that look how quickly the dung beetles and other beetle species in here have loosened up that dung. Now, this dung, obviously, when it's loosened up like this, now if we get a torrential downpour, the nutrients within this dung is going to be able to be utilized and deposited into the soil a lot quicker than when it's in that hard sort of compact state. So that's another thing. Another really important role, as we've been seeing all the fly species around here with dung beetles, is that because a lot of the species in southern Africa bury balls of dung. They're putting the dung underneath the ground. They're actually controlling the fly population, which is quite cool, because I don't know about you, I can't stand flies. They're not my favorite thing in the world. They go up your nose, they go in your mouth, they do everything that's so inappropriate. So thank you very much, dung beetles, for helping control the fly populations, because otherwise we'd be like living in Australia and we'd have to have cork hats and things like that. No, I'm just joking. I'm allowed to tease the Australian scene as I am an Aussie. Yeah, mate. Anyways, can we have another look? I know I've moved further away, BK, no, at that dung pile, because there's a fly that I think I've figured out what it is. Ooh, Carol, I think it depends on the species of the dung beetle, but I would say a couple of years, maybe 3 to 4 years, some dung beetle species can live for. I stand to be corrected, though. I think it might vary, like I said. That beautiful metallic creature, that fly-like thing, I think I found it. I think it is in the family Sepsidae, which is black scavenger flies. I've never really identified them before, but I remember reading about them a couple of weeks ago. And I think what's happening here is that it is male and females that are coming to this pile of dung, or any pile of dung, and they mate, and they actually lay their eggs in the dung itself, which is quite cool. So I think it is one of the black scavenger flies. It kind of matches to what I've got here in my book, but I mean, again, I stand to be corrected, but they are just beautiful. It's quite particular the way that they hold their wings like that, and they've got exceptionally long legs too. Obviously, we can't get close enough to see the color of their eye, but it seems that those eyes are normally got a red sort of tinge to it. Look, there's something else hovering about too. I have no idea what that is. Maybe it's some kind of a wasp. There's so many amazing things in here. But let's say thanks to the dung beetles for controlling the fly population, because shoo, I don't know if I could survive with just flies. But most of the dung beetles have moved off now. The temperature is starting to drop quite a bit, and obviously with arthropods and insects, or any insects alike, is that they depend on sort of warmer, moist temperatures to move around. So as it starts to get very cold, they'll become less active, and they'll just have to wait for a sunny day. But they are indeed super busy. I wonder if we come back here tomorrow, what it will look like. Maybe I need to drop a location pin so that I can make sure I come back to the right pile of poop and figure out how quickly a fairly large pile of dung will last.
Good luck, Taylor, with that. So, our leopard, she's still busy, finishing it off. That remain of the meat. As you can hear, it's a lot of actually crunching, taking soft bones together as a meat, skin at the same time. But this won't make her delay to hunt. If this done, she's gonna take it easy, but anything in front of her, any chances there is a prey species, she's gonna continue again, knowing that she's not sure that when the next meal will be available. Hunting technique they learned from their mother when they're young. When their mother take them for the first time when they're anything. Look at this hoof, is going to be eaten. Since I say that it's very fresh or soft because it's still young, so if it was a full-grown impala, she wouldn't do that then. She would leave him. Looks like she's busy, she's not leaving anything behind. But she's even worried about that little hoof that fell off. when she's done there, she's probably going to go down and take anything that fell off because there's no hyena here to clean. This time of year, a lot of baby animals will be born, and parlors begin off. It becomes so much easy. Pray more especially these baby impalas because they don't actually have very much skill or faster speed as their parents do, and that's why sometimes a lot of them get killed, but not only by leopard, by other type of other cats, python, snakes, jackals out there. Pretty much enjoying feeding together with the skin. And you look right there, it's a meat available, but she's not going for it only. She's busy with the skin, pluck the fur off and take some with the meat mixed with the bones together. They're all scavengers, so if another strong male or leopard or even strong female leopard get into this position here, she'll push her off. Look at this whole fur coming out of the mouth. So they can steal from one another, scavenge from one another. But that's it's depend on the power. Look at his face, beautiful. Oh, her father was seen yesterday morning, slightly south of here. And went check yesterday afternoon. The guy's been in the area even this morning. I think this is where the lions were seen earlier today, and looks like he's maybe moved somewhere else. Tingana. Just gonna take a little bit of moment of silence. This is very interesting. So I'm going to stay here, right here.
Stations, one out on drive.
Welcome back, everyone. I believe you've just had a silent moment with James, but all hell is breaking loose here on the Phinda Plains. There's 4 zebras that are chasing each other around and furiously trying to kick each other and vocalize at each other and biting each other, and they've just gone behind the bushes there, but we're hoping that they're going to come out again so we can show you what's going on. And it's been going on for about 5 or 6 minutes now. What seems to be happening is that there is a stallion with 2 mares, and there's an intruding stallion that's trying to kind of oust him and take over his mares, and he's having absolutely none of him. I'm going to go slightly forward, see if we can find these zebras again. They also ran through a herd of 5 startled giraffe, and these giraffes scattered in their wake. But you can see all over the road here, they've been running across the road, kicking each other, jumping. Now I can see 2 giraffe there that are staring, and they're running. Look at the giraffe running away from the zebras that have chased him all the way down that hill. They're the zebras. They've run about half a kilometer now, and that one male is still being very, very persistent. Alright, you can see what looks like the 3 females there. Alright, there we go. Everything seems to have calmed down a little bit. They've stopped and they're kind of swishing their tails and are now slowly moving on in procession. Maybe one of the males has kind of given up. So Matiola, you've asked when is the mating season for zebra, and there's no set season. A lot of animals in Africa, especially antelope, have no sort of set breeding season where they'll have babies only in the summer or the winter. Zebra are like that. They'll have whenever, but they generally tend to have their babies more often in the times closer to spring and summer. Although we do see baby zebras being born in winter as well, they sort of tend to congregate their births around winter and summer. There's also, now I've just spotted 2 rhinos behind the zebra. I mean behind the giraffe. 2 white rhinos. Oh, 3, 4. There's a tiny little baby. Don't know if you're all seeing this, but there's a mother with a small calf and 2 slightly older calves that are walking away from us now. Sure, so much going on here. But while there was a brief moment of absolute pandemonium, everything seems to have calmed down now. And all that you can hear is the birds and the wind. The wind is starting to pick up now. I think that's why those white rhinos are starting to move out of the grassland and into the more protected, well-vegetated areas. So I think what we're going to do is probably go and try and find those rhino again and get a closer look at them. These zebra have calmed down and they're starting to slowly feed. So we're going to, in the meantime, send you off to another live location.
Still in this position of a leopard now. That leopard has got a visitor, which is a hyena. It's already arrived into this area. As we know for sure, they're a very good tracker. They're always behind cats, big cats. And then it was amazing that it only took time for the hyena to notice this area. It's a kill. But finally, it's got tracked and it's been found. And anything that falls down there, it's going to be taken up. As we know, hyena, they're very serious. They don't leave anything behind, especially when they have got little chance of getting into the kill. Sometimes they force themselves into danger where feed from the other side and the lions on the other side. Many of them die, and then some of them get out without leg being chopped off. But they won't give up. The next day they're involved again. And they're only doing it for their own success. In the end of the day, they only worry about getting full up, their tummy. Right, something fell out. Probably one of the bone there. So right now, anything that falls, it's going to be taken. So that leopard will go down and find nothing left. But now it looks like she's done. She's just going to rest, wait for the hyena to move off. And she'll come down from there. As she's busy staring at that hyena right now. Cleaning herself, her face, lick her paws. Sorry. This is what she's doing just after she finished. Make sure it's cleaned. So cool, because then we'll see where she's gonna go. When she got down, she's gonna lead any direction she wants, probably down to the dam there for a drink, but not while this hyena is still around. This is the enemy of every day. Hyena and the lions. Wild dogs. They're all enemy of a leopard. That's why they need to be careful about where they move. Paul, good afternoon. Welcome to the beautiful show. For such a cat like this, a young female like this, I don't think there's a chance for her killing hyena. It's a full-grown hyena that is underneath of this tree here. If it was a big male, maybe, but it's not actually often happening that. It does happen, but not quite often. So hyena always win leopards. Leopards always get away from the hyena. A hyena, they have very strong teeth, even more than the lions do. So there's never a chance for a leopard to let the hyena close by to them. And the hyena's looking up. So myself and Gerrit, we're just going to wait here, finally see. She's definitely going to come down soon, but we're just going to see how she does it.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to andBeyond in Ngala. So as you can see, we've got some vultures in the tree there, and the reason that they're there is they've been following this pride of lions. So you can see there's a few youngsters here in the front that are looking up and some that are flat sleeping at the back. And I guess you're wondering if we fed Nikki to the lions, since I'm obviously not Nikki. So my name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide for the rest of the afternoon at andBeyond Ngala. We've still got Owen on camera, and we had a special surprise with me being your new guide for WildEarth. So if you have a look, you can see really, really nicely this young lion that's closest to us. You can see the black on the backs of his ears. And he's listening really, really carefully. So I don't know if you know what those black marks are for on the back. You can see them on the lioness behind as well. You can see those ears moving. So this just really allows these lions to look really carefully when they're moving through the long grass and see each other moving. So if he was still much younger, he's around maybe just under 2 years old now, he would be following his mother with those black marks and the black tuft on the tip of her tail. But they're also really good if something comes up behind the lion. They almost look a bit like eyes. So something might think that, you know, maybe it's looking his way. So that one's actually sitting up. You can see her flicking her head. So she's obviously got some flies bothering her. What's really lucky for these lions today is that it's nice and cool out. It's overcast. There's a nice breeze blowing. You can see those guarri leaves blowing. So what that means is they don't have to go and look for shade today. They can actually lie here quite comfortably, and they're not panting because it's not excessively hot. There you can see she's sniffing into the breeze. So what they might be sniffing for is things like those about just now. Because they want to make sure that them, because they are nice and relaxed. Some of them are flat sleeping. So it's really wonderful to be able to see this and really appreciate how incredible these cats are. So if you have a look at this male that's closest to us again, the youngster, in between his ears, he's got a darker patch of mohawk with his mane starting. Margot, Ngala is the local language, or local word, sorry, for a lion. And the local language here is Shangaan. And the reason why they called it Ngala, because we have one of the highest densities of lions in the world in the Kruger National Park. And so like very important to all of the local cultures around here. really see those manes on those two. So I think the one at the back is slightly older than this one that's closer to us. You can see that tuft, especially just behind his ears there. And so that would start showing anywhere from about 8 months. You can see the longer hair starting to grow on a young male. But it's only going to reach its full potential when he gets a little bit older. Maybe towards 5 or 6 years old, he's going to have a really nice big mane. And that's when they start becoming their most powerful at that sort of age, where they might start looking to take over prides. At this stage, though, these two youngsters are getting towards the point where they might actually have to lose pride, because older males won't tolerate young males that are growing up within the pride. But it doesn't look like they have too much to worry about at the moment. They're nice and relaxed. Just this youngster looking up. That is an excellent question. So male lions might take over their own natal pride if they are still in the same territory. So it has happened before. This is called the Birmingham breakaway pride. But Owen's just zooming in on some vultures there. But this pride was actually the same pride as the Birmingham pride, and they split up a few years ago. And within the Birmingham pride, we've got a young male that has actually stayed with, he's almost 4 years old now. And so it is actually possible that he might take over that pride from the two Ross males. He might even take over this pride at some point. So it definitely is possible. It is unlikely, though, because these males are usually chased out by the dominant males of the pride. Only when they get to maybe 5 or 6 years old will they start looking for a pride and territory of their own. They just look so nice and relaxed. You can hear some birds in the background. Beautiful light breeze. So on a hot day, they might have been even lying on their backs to try and expose their bellies to the wind. But today, they don't even need to worry about that. You can actually see this young male's mane is starting to get darker on that mohawk section in between his ears. So he might have quite a dark mane when he's older. You can see it actually extends all the way down to his shoulder blade. So when he gets to maturity, that mane might reach down his back, underneath his chest, even down his legs, towards his elbows. So we're going to sit here with these lions while they're sleeping peacefully and see what happens.
Correct. So eventually the leopard got down. Hyena went actually make space a little bit for her to go down. She's now mobile south. We got a lock still going. And it looks like, as you can see, she's actually putting her tail up since the birds are giving her alarm call. So I'm going to follow her up so we don't lose her. Just going to see if she pushes south. It means that she will be around in a property for probably tonight, I think, if she doesn't really change direction, going maybe east into Torchwood or Beverlysook, which if she does that is also very good for us. We're still going to track her down there, get her. But just going to see how far she's going to maybe go. You know, I was thinking maybe she's going to go down to drink first things when she come down, but no, she's not going any direction of the water right now. She's just moving different way south. So Guaripen doesn't have water, I know of. Next water for her, if she continue, probably between them, which is still quite far for her. And I believe that she's not thirsty enough because the weather has been great for her. Just gonna, it's quite a bushes around here, but we're eventually gonna go close to her again. Just gonna keep distance between her and us in case there's anything she can hunt, because they actually never stop hunting, even a full stomach, especially with the weather like this, cloudy day, and keep on and on hunting until they go lie down again. going to give it another moment here. She's moving right on front of us. She's still moving through. She's now stopped again there. Probably she's trying to listen. So it's a way of hunting. When they move, they move. When they stop, we also stop, just give them a chance to listen what is on front of them. I'm going to move on again. Just keep on the side of her. She's hoping for probably another baby impala. That's what she's up to right now. Let's see if we can stick with her.
Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. We've got some red hartebeest in the distance. I'm just going to try reposition a little bit for us here. There we go. If you look in the distance there they start trotting. It's your second fastest antelope after your tsesebe. Let's see if they do come out on the other side of the shrubs there. They are being a little bit shy. And there they give us a bit of an alarm call. I'm going to try reposition once more. They are being a bit shy, living up to their names of being the fastest antelopes. There's a male staring directly back at us. See if I can get him quickly. There we go. Look at that. Now, if you take the name red hartebeest, comes from the hert. When the first 18 settlers got here, it reminded them of a hert. And what he's doing now is giving an alarm call. That's why you're seeing him almost like barking like that. It's just an alarm call saying that I know you there. Your element of surprise is gone. And that's a big bull right there. And obviously from an angle, those horns almost give an angle of a heart shape, and that's where it comes from. And look how they trot away. I mean, as I was saying, the second fastest antelope after your tsesebe, which looks very similar to them. And in the distance, they disappear. On that note, we'll send you to another beautiful location in Africa.
Well, while your hartebeest have disappeared into the distance, in the distance here we also have something amazing, which we are feeling very privileged to behold here. Look how these golden shafts of light are bursting through and down to the hot Zululand floor through these heavy rain clouds. And we're just sitting here and watching the scene, and actually as we're watching it, you can see the light moving, dancing across the low veld here. And it's like sort of the brightest light in the entire 360 degrees scene as these rays of sunlight bursting through. So let's just maybe take 30 seconds just to appreciate this view and take in all the sounds going on around us, the birds and the frogs and this light. Wow, and as quickly as those clouds opened, now that shaft of light is about to be cut off again, and once again we are covered in very dark, grey, ominous clouds. Just to our right there of those 4 rhino that we had found earlier, we're just waiting for them to make their way up onto the top of the hill, where we're hoping to intercept them. But that was such a phenomenal little moment. Very happy that we got to show that to you. And now, even as that light has been cut off, the wind has picked up and it's starting to get very cold here. Very, very chilly and breezy. And a lot of the animals that we've been seeing, the zebra earlier, which were chasing each other, and these rhinos, which we saw as well, are being slightly on edge. Their sense of hearing and smell has been dulled a little bit, and so they're quite jittery, quite skittish, not too comfortable out in the open, because they really just don't have a good idea what's around them when they can't hear or smell anything. So you can just make out the rhinos that have come up over the slope now. They're just standing. Look how they're not moving, they're not feeding. They're just standing and listening. Their ears are flicking this way and that independently. And yeah, they're kind of sussing out what's around them. So what I think was happening in this scene as well, there's 2 older calves, probably about 3 or 4, maybe 5 years old. And there's a mother with a very young calf, not even 3 months old. And often what happens with rhino is that when a rhino calf is with his mum, she'll have another calf when he's about 4 or 5, and she'll kick the older calf away from her and say, it's time to find yourself or go off on your own. And that older calf will feel quite unprepared to leave its mother, and will often try and find another rhino, either other younger rhino or another mother with the calf to latch onto. And I think this is what's happening here. These 2 sort of teenager calves are trying to latch onto this mother and her newborn, and she's not really that happy with that. She doesn't want them to come too close to her 3-month-old calf, and that's also why I think these rhinos there's a little bit of tension between them, which we hoping to watch a little bit more and see how it plays out. So we'll stay with these rhinos, and in the meantime we'll send you off to another beautiful location somewhere else.
Beautiful. So we're still following up on Netlamba. She's now went to the top of the mound after that thicket she has went through with us, or we were busy following her. She's now right there looking still south, I think.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, and we're still here in a chilly Zululand day. We continue to watch this beautiful sort of shaft of light coming down through the clouds. I don't know if you can see, there's a black-bellied bustard flying almost directly in front of that light, and it's being buffeted by the winds so hard that it can't even fly forward. It's being pushed backwards There it drops down now. Look how it glides. No ways. That is the most unbelievable scene. No ways. So yeah, that bird's called a black-bellied bustard. And I'll try and find a picture of it in my bird book to show you, but it's a bird that lives in these grasslands, and much like a secretary bird that we saw earlier, it spends most of its time walking around on its legs rather than flying like that. That kind of aerial display that it was doing is pretty much only done for territorial reasons. Often in the mornings they'll fly up like that and glide very slowly down with their wings almost like held in a V shape, and they glide down almost like a parachute. So you don't get to see that very often at all. It was very cool. And they'll look for small things to eat in the grass, small animals or small insects or small reptiles and amphibians. I'd love to show you this bustard, but it seems like I've just torn my bird book in half because it was wet and stuck together with water. So I'll just kind of show you what it's looking like now. Look at that. So that's the black-bellied bustard, or that's actually not the black-bellied bustard. The black-bellied bustard's on a page which is actually stuck completely together. So we'll have to find another one for you. But it's amazing how this light is just changing all the time, constantly. It's a very dynamic scene in front of us. And I can imagine that the animals that are sort of basking in that sunlight now, that haven't had warmth and haven't really been, they've probably been cold all day. It's been raining here. There's droplets of water suspended on almost every blade of grass, and every puddle is just full of water. So there's probably animals there that are just so happy for that warmth and light at the moment. Animals like reptiles that actually need the sun to absorb energy for them to actually have energy to move around and that kind of thing. They're probably very, very thankful for it. So we're going to stick here and send you off again. I think we're going to spend some more time here and see what happens.
Welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. An old carcass here, not so old, about a week old, but during the week we had a question. Somebody asked how long does it take for a carcass to decompose, and part of my answer was that because Kalahari does not have as much moisture, a lot of things actually do go dry. I mean, you can hear that. It's solid dry. But you can see where the lions have actually fed on it, cleaned it from the rib cage all the way in there. But also very interesting, what you can also see is where hyenas have also fed and actually broke the bones. You can actually see the teeth marks of the hyenas, and you'll notice evidently how I use a stick to point that, just trying to avoid any contamination in my hands, because you never know what these animals are carrying. But that's just to show how dry the Kalahari can be. Speaking of the power of hyena teeth, look at how sharp and how clinical this rib cage bone has been torn apart. And to just give it that it is hyenas doing that, if you move just not too far from the carcass, you can see this is very fresh hyena dung. It would most probably be brown hyena, just judging on the size. Very small size there, but you can see it's been cleaned. The only thing that's left here is bone and skin. You might still find birds coming for things like the hair there and lining and using it as lining for nests, but the decaying process is still going on. If you look through there, you can see where the flies are starting to actually lay their eggs and a little bit of maggots starting to form there. So that's the whole decaying process that would take place here in the Kalahari, unlike other places where there's a bit of moisture and so on, and the decaying process is a little bit quicker. So I just wanted to furbish that question from earlier this week. So there you go. We'll still continue finding these lions, and in the meantime, we'll send you off to another beautiful property in Africa.
We have found kudu. They are behind this variable bush willow, and one of them is bucking frantically to get rid of the oxpeckers that are harassing her. Let me stop over there. There we go. They seem to be a little skittish, as they always are. I don't know why. They learn so slowly that we mean no harm. Definitely very slowly in comparison with their bushbuck and Ngala relatives. There we go, that's quite a pretty sighting. So how many times I've driven up and down this particular road and seen absolutely nothing. But today, beautiful kudus and 7 dozen oxpeckers. Please excuse me for my poor last segment when I didn't realize I was live because my radio was on the wrong channel. I'd love to blame the radio, but the radio is unable to change the channel on its own. In fact, it must have been me that did it by mistake. We'll just see if we can get one last look at these kudus. They are not being particularly confiding. There's a bit of a clearing up ahead here. And yo, Niels, that's a proper sighting, that one. Push record. You're going to win an award. Look at that. There we go. Once they're a certain distance away, they're a bit more comfortable. They don't live in terror of being savaged by us. Now they are eating the new leaves on a red, is it red bush willow or large fruited bush willow? Let me have a look, see. It's on a red bush willow. And, I mean, you would think that with all the red bush willow around here, it must be an absolutely endless source of nutrition. But I think that there is a lot of tannin in their leaves, and I think also the more they browse, the more tannin they produce. We know that a lot of the Vachilia species and Senegalia species do that. That one is guzzling. See, it's going for the tips of the twigs. So the youngest leaves. Amanda, no. One of the defining characteristics of an antelope is that it has horns and not antlers. So no antelope have antlers, only deer, and deer species have got antlers. These chaps have got horns, all of them. It's not a bad kudu sighting. Very nice. I'm going to put my jacket on now, for I'm becoming cold.
Explaining it, and you're like, you've just messed it up.
You're not supposed to do that, man.
Yeah, but it's just a quick segment, so.
Welcome back. We are still just taking in this beautiful late afternoon night here, and our plan at the moment is, well, there's just something happening with the sky so often and it's changing so quickly. We're just going to wait here and see what animals come to us and enjoy this beautiful view. And in the scene, we've got a couple of big trees with some beautiful birds in them. There's 3 white-backed vultures in this massive, very pale-barked tree that Craig's showing you now. It's called a fever tree. And they are... I'm not going to try and take a closer look with my binoculars, but it looks like they're just relaxing. They might be full from a previous meal that they've had today, or they might just be sort of resting because it's very cold weather. Vultures generally need hot rising air to kind of soar on. They're called thermals, and they use these thermals to soar across the landscape and look for things to eat or carrion to eat. But because it's so cold, it's probably, and because it's so sort of, there's this buffeting wind that's going across the grassland, they might just be not so keen to forage now. So they're just at the top of that fever tree. Off one goes. Look how it's just taken off. And it's flapping its wings quite a lot into the wind. There the others go. Each of them have one by one fliven off. So Viet has asked if we have caracal at Phinda, and yes we do. We have had recorded sightings of caracal here. We just don't see them very often at all. Here goes one last vulture, and we actually noticing them slowly coming back to Phinda because for the last 30 years Phinda has been converted back to wildlife, and before that Phinda used to be just a sort of conglomeration of cattle farms, pineapple farms, and game farms. And 2 gentlemen actually had this visionary idea to buy up all the farms, put all the land together, and then convert it to this massive wilderness area, which is Phinda today. But it took some species quite a long time to recolonize, and caracal are the one species that took quite a while to come back, but now they're starting to more and more be seen, especially on camera traps, and 1 or 2 of our guides have seen them out on drive as well. Similar to a caracal, another small cat is a serval, and we've been seeing serval numbers here on Phinda, especially out in these grassland areas, increasing. We're seeing more and more sightings of them, which is fantastic news. They are beautiful cats. Oh, there's a warthog running across the road. I'm not sure what started it, but it ran across the grassland to our left and is now just trotting along the road in front of us. Just with its tail up. Maybe it was because there is a secretary bird that's just landed close to where it ran from. And maybe it was that secretary bird that startled it and sent it packing. I see that secretary bird has just flown into the tree again. It's the same pair of secretary birds we saw earlier. And they're now in a different big tree. I'm quite convinced that they are trying to find a nesting site for maybe the female who's about to lay her clutch of eggs for the season. Very exciting. And you can see now with the sunlight sort of half coming out of the clouds how green it is here at Phinda. And we've been lucky enough to have some quite decent rain. We actually had the wettest winter of our on record at Phinda. So June, July, August is meant to be our dry season, and we had some very solid rain during the dry season, which gave the grass some extra length and animals some extra fodder than they would normally have. So that's why a lot of the animals that we're seeing around here, especially the buffalo, are looking in very, very good condition. Normally they'd be a little bit thin, hip bones sticking out, losing condition a bit, and we have been very lucky here at Phinda to have these rains. And hopefully we get some more during the summer so that all the beautiful dams and waterholes here that can fill up, because we are still at the end of a 6-year drought here in Zululand. It's been quite a desperate drought for a lot of places, but I think this year might be the break of the drought. Our dams are already looking quite, if not 50, maybe 60% full, which is fantastic. So Stuck in Beds asked a very interesting question, quite a difficult question. What's the favorite thing, or I suppose my favorite thing about my job as a ranger? And I think as a ranger, us rangers are very lucky because there's no real downside to our job. We just spend all of our time in nature, and we get to meet hundreds of new people every day. And get to show them this landscape which we love, and we're able to impart knowledge and see the look on their faces when you show them things that they've never seen before. And I think that's my favorite part of my job. I think it's just to see the reaction of people who's never been in the bush or never been to Africa even, and to see their delight and the excitement when they see some of the animals they've seen for the very first time. We also get to spend lots of time on foot, walking and exploring this landscape on foot, which is my favorite thing. I love going on game drive, but walking around the bush in the savannah and in the woodlands and in the sand forest in the north of Phinda just brings you into a complete different atmosphere. You get to really experience nature in a much more tangible way. You can smell the things that you're walking past. You can hear the sounds. You can even touch. So it really just invokes all of your senses, and you really feel a lot more connected to the place that you're in. So we're going to continue sitting here and seeing what comes across our path. We're going to send you over to another live location. Yes.
Here we have got a lovely herd of impalas, and not one of them has given birth yet. Now, I find that a little odd because many of the ewes have given birth to a lamb, but these ones have not one of them in this herd, and they're all walking in a relatively straight line, I suppose perhaps towards another clearing just the other side of this one, where they will spend the night. Some of them have got a bit crazy and they've been doing the jumping and head-butting of each other, which is quite fun. Young bull, it's very interesting. Young rams bringing up the rear for the most part. Now that chap there that you can see has made it through his first year, so he is one of the lucky 50%. Many of his friends fell by the wayside during the course of the year 2020 and the end of 2019, and the same will go for the little babies who are being born now, one of whom didn't make it past 2 days when Tlalamba got hold of it. Poor thing. As you can see, the strategy is clearly successful because there are lots of them. As long as there's water, they will be fine. Very pleasant little grouping.
Sorry about that. So we have left or lost our leopard here, Tlalamba, across that very deep drainage line. So we're now searching on the southern side of that drainage line along the central road. Hopefully she come out this way, because then her aim actually was traveling south, which I believe if she don't actually change direction or maybe delay due to so many situations of maybe hunting or lazy in that bush, she's definitely going to come out for us. And then if she do that, we're going to find her. Hopefully maybe drinking one of these little pans around here. But she actually full stomach. It works better for her to drink and maybe lay down a bit, digest. But just because of a lot of impalas started to give a lot of birth and their babies, she will be probably behind these impalas, babies impalas, and also any of the adult impala that will be around. She will be probably going for them. And she was highly scent marking, so it's one of the communication sound like it's a sign she might maybe attract males around here. Now Hlangula has been seen. It was actually a few days ago along Garimain and it disappeared. We're not sure where he's gone from there. So, but they are moving a lot. They communicate. Wherever she goes, she left this chemical behind. So for him to be able to find out anytime he's around, and then he will track her down. So we're going to check more again on one of the road. If she doesn't come out, we're going to do that continuously. Hopefully we come across her.
Welcome back everybody to andBeyond Ngala. So we left the lazy lions, and on our way out we found a beautiful clearing, and we found a stunning herd of zebra and wildebeest together, and they have this tiny little foal in amongst them. It's still so fluffy. I would say still maybe about a week or two old. Still very young. So it's following after its mum. There's the mum there on the left. Look how tiny it is compared to its mum. But that's actually a beautiful shot. You can see how similar their stripes are on the rump. So every zebra's stripes are unique, but they do get some form of a blueprint from their parents. So it's not a coincidence that the zebras and the wildebeest are together. They actually stay with each other for protection, but also because they'll eat different parts of the grass. I know Nikki was discussing it yesterday. And in fact, he actually told you this morning about a little zebra foal that was lying in the road last night. And I think it might have been this one because we're very close to that area. And it was just lying flat sleeping. But now that it's cooler, they're probably going to stay in this clearing. But they're moving around. They don't need to worry about finding shade. And you can see how easily they blend in as well. So there's quite a number of zebra and wildebeest here. It's a fairly large herd. And with the wind blowing, that leopard that we're looking for and the lions that we've just seen, it's a great time for them to come out and start hunting because it's cooling off. It's windy, which means that it can blow their scent away from their prey. And so on days like today, we often find things like these zebras and wildebeest in these clearings, especially if they're going to need to spend the night here. Look at those stunning storm clouds in the background. Such a change from the heat that we had 3-4 days ago. Absolutely stunning to see them all standing together like that. Those two on the left and front are actually having a bit of a challenge with each other there. They look like they're biting each other. There you can see them playing. So on cold days like this, they have a bit more energy. So you often find them being playful, but it could also be a bit of a dominance play session. So just reminding each other where they fit in. When you see it like that through the trees, it's easy to see why they would stick together in a dazzle like this in a herd. Because it's very hard to separate one from the other when you're looking at them like that. So we're going to stay here and watch what happens with these three that are playing. And hopefully we might see something interesting.
Beautiful zebra, all gorgeous. Since you were on look for Kalamba, since she hasn't coming out of any of the roads yet, I know we only check 2 roads for sure. And I think it's also a good idea to stop with Impala just to see what they are about. Here's only one male Impala fink that I can see right now. Fluffy, a little bit. This is probably just because of the weather. Slightly, either feel cold a bit. And they puff their coat to provide warmer on their coat. So, but this Impala's always, since we get here, hasn't moved. Just freeze there and look away from us every now and then. But, you know, sometimes if they see something, they're more likely to give alarm call or run back, stop, and trying to look behind if there's anything chasing them. This is when they're sure about what they see properly. But for that, it's all about safety, I think. Antelope, more especially those that single themselves away from the rest of the group, they find themselves very difficult to understand the safety around them. They always have to be careful about where they're going. Chirag, good afternoon. Impala, they are mixed feeder, which means they grazer and browse. So they're one of the successful antelope around here. Even during this drought, you find them still succeed, because when there's no grass, they still feed on this woody around, twigs, and this is what they diet on, and they're all able to survive through that. Again, you see, it's going to take a little bit of feed. So since he was just freezing there, that was all about listening. And if that antelope was in a group, then they were able to help each other. You find if they're 60 or 15, half of them have to look out and some of them have to feed, take turns. So everybody has work to do. Where then there's only one now, anything can happen. And that's why when you see that ears every time goes forward, back, down, up, just to able to pick any sound, then it becomes very difficult when it's so much wind, because predators, they also downwind the prey, and this is why it sometimes makes them successful during the rain, pouring rain or windy night. And most of the carnivores, they kill quite a lot during that night, because these type of prey species, they're all confused now, run around not knowing what they're running for. So I'm going to carry on with my search around here. Hopefully we bump on our talamba.
So welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. We've been watching the zebra, and this foal has just started drinking milk from its mother. This is incredibly special to see, because it's not often that you get to see these more intimate moments. But you can see how it's put its ears back and flattened its head so that it can comfortably get in underneath the mum's belly. But every now and then it stops to look up and just make sure that they're still safe whenever there's movement. Mom's had enough now, she's moving away. And that's the little one's cue to stop suckling, although it might keep trying. But you can see how close it's staying to its mom's side, so it's still very young and unsure of what to do. Oh wow, look how pregnant this female is that's closest to us. You can see how rounded her belly is. And she's actually very nice and brown as well. I think she might have been dust bathing earlier today to get rid of some of those pests. Absolutely stunning to see them all standing and looking back into the wind. So you can actually hear the birds are busy calling at the moment as well. They're starting to settle down for the night and advertise where they are. But this particular spot is one of my favorite spots on the entire reserve. You can see so far into the distance. It's a beautiful open landscape. And you always find something amazing here. It's very easy to see why this is one of the most loved places in the world by so many people. Africa is absolutely unreal. So just listen really closely to all of the birds and watch as the zebras move off with this incredible landscape. Craig, zebras are in fact related to horses and donkeys. They're actually in the same family as horses, which is the equine family. But yes, they are definitely related to donkeys. You can see these two having a bit of a dominant spat, kicking each other and making a noise. So in fact, they are closely enough related that they can interbreed, but it's not successful. So they might have a foal, but it would be sterile. It wouldn't actually be able to reproduce. So they are quite closely related, Craig. So amazing to see them with so much energy. Chris, zebras will give birth usually during the day, but they can give birth at night. It just depends when the mother goes into labor. The most important thing for them is that when they give birth, they want to be in a safe area, somewhere that they can hide that foal, maybe in long grass. And sometimes you might find that they want the protection of the dazzle as well. Absolutely incredible scene with these dramatic storm clouds in the distance. That's possibly the biggest dazzle of zebra I've seen since I've been back. And I just absolutely love it, especially with that young foal and seeing them so energetic, running around, playing, biting each other, and just the incredible sounds that we have out here. We are so, so blessed to be able to be here. So we're going to keep going. We're going to head on down the road and see what else we can find. We're now changing over shortly to the infrared lights. And so we're going to see if we maybe can find one of the predators while we're driving through the evening.
Great, good luck. So I'm taking this road now, and it's going to be actually taking me back close to that road where we lost the leopardy. And also it's been actually quite a few tracks of elephants around here. So, you know, anything we come across, we'll spend time with it. And the herds of elephants, this time they move in such a massive group because there's it's a plenty of food. The grass is greenies, trees everywhere available for them. It's a lot of puddle of waters everywhere. They do mud wallows, and understand this weather for them is not actually very difficult. Elephants, they were able to move quite a lot or spend a lot of time feeding, less drinking, because then it's not actually very hot. And also they were able to do a lot of breaking trees quite often, destructions, and they will focus on grasses, chopping off these branches of trees, tip end of these branches, then pushing the whole tree down for the roots, which that happens during the winter where there's no grass as much and there's no green in its trees. But they move sometimes in and out here because of so many of a water hole these days. Summers provide a lot of water since it's been actually a little bit of a rain for the last. Water comes a lot available for them. So eventually I'm going to arrive at the Gari Dam there, as I'm going to make my way east slowly along Central for that Kalamba.
Sounds like a good plan at Gari Dam. We have got to the top of this small hill. Well, it's actually quite a big hill, but it's the tallest hill in the whole of these open areas in the south of Phinda. And from here, we are just enjoying this beautiful, beautiful late afternoon view. And the sun is just being tinged peachy pink. Or the clouds are turning that color from the sun that's probably behind those clouds, just dipping below the horizon. And yeah, it's just an unbelievable scene. And most of the animals that we've been seeing today probably getting ready to rest, as they've been active during the day. And a whole host of new animals are probably preparing to get up and get going, starting to prepare themselves for their nocturnal activities. Animals like lions, leopards, even hyenas, and other small animals that we find out here, like porcupine and aardvark, all those nocturnal animals. We can just imagine them all on this spread out plain, getting ready for their nighttime activities. So Ninamu's asked whether we take walking safaris at Phinda, and we definitely do. It's one of our favorite activities is to take our guests walking. And it's not a formal walking safari. It's just an activity that you can do whenever you come here. If our guests feel like not going on drive and going on a walk instead, we're more than happy to take them. And we also do all kinds of walks. Sometimes it's just a nature walk where you go and appreciate flowers and trees and plants. And we also do other kind of walks where we actually go and track rhinos or buffaloes or an elephant bull, for example, and try and get a view of them on foot. So yes, definitely do walking safaris here at Phinda. But I think the light here is running out very fast. It's like cupping water between your hands. When it comes to sunlight here in the bush, you always think you have a lot more, and it runs out so much quicker than you think. So I'm sure before long we'll be completely in darkness. And for now, unless we get very lucky with something before this light ends, it's probably going to be our last view for the day. So goodbye and thanks for joining us at Phinda. We're going to send you off now to another beautiful location.
Heard about, I think, Hukumuri on the radio. I think I'm going to leave this area here to see if I can reach that destination of Hukumuri near the gate site and just get a little bit of a message. I'm not sure if somebody in the area, otherwise just going to arrive in the area, start to look around for him. Hopefully we got him static. And otherwise I think he just came from the west, as he spent a lot of time up in the west. But part of Djuma, it's half of his territory. So he's probably checking around here, I think. So I'm going to make my way down there, past quarantine, instead of going back east, look around for Talam. I know for sure. Could be that she's already crossed one of the roads. We miss her. Now it will be so cool also to see the Hukumuri again. Beautiful male leopard. And not sure who's on lock there. So we're going to find out when we get to the area. For sure, we'll let you guys know. Keep updated.
Actually, here's something of... Tswalu Kalahari. Look at the scenery there. Beautiful mountains, and the sun is also heading for the horizon there. Dave, if I can ask you, it's going to be a bit of a tall ask here, but here's something of interest coming away from the scene there. I've just noticed it as we stopped here. Now, you get two types of scorpions. Now, this
it's a bit too close to the vehicle.
Is
if we just make some space.
Oh, sorry. Let me just reposition. That would be better. Sorry for that. But if you look over here, I'm going to try and point it out. It's one entrance of a scorpion hole, and here's another, but it's two different kinds of scorpion holes. One would be a burrowing scorpion, which would actually, when they enter, it's not a deep down, it's almost like on a side that they would enter. But then you look at this, it almost makes like a straight drop. And these guys would make almost like a J coming down and going back up. And that would help them with draining water in times of rain. So that was something I didn't notice when we stopped, but obviously something of interest to try and point out for you. So the most common of the burrowing scorpions here would be your Kalahari burrowing scorpion, doing that. Still a young fellow that must have done that, but a very interesting fella. They're yellow in color, and they would have not as much of a thick tail like your Prrivate or your more medically important scorpions. So, yeah, that's just a quick reference with our scorpions here in the Kalahari. Back to the horizon there. Fiona, why is it so much lighter than everywhere else in Tswalu Kalahari? Now, if you look at the positioning of where we are, we're almost lying a lot lower than most places, almost in a basement, if I can call it that. So your Lawveld would be slightly to our east, and we would be more northwest. And if you look at places like Kenya, Tanzania, they're far up from where we are. So we are almost lower than where their horizons are. And that's why we still have light, and they already starting to lose light. That's the difference between us and them. We almost could be on a different time zone. If you look at South Africa as it stands, it almost needed two time zones, where if you take a straight line from the Cape coming all the way to where we are, it would be probably, I would say, a +1 rather than a +2 looking at the whole of the country. But obviously that would have had its own complications with regards to business and all the other things. But that's why Kalahari here, we still have a lot more light than any other place. Hope that answers your question there, Fiona. Beautiful there. There's also some general game. If you look just down on the dune there, we've got some gemsbok grazing there. We've got what looks like, yes, it is gemsbok. Yep, there we are. Just grazing there between the camel thorns. Nice big herd. Cantrell, what is the medical importance of scorpions? Now, if we speak of venom, one would understand that there has to be anti-venom. So For that, we need to know what scorpion had stung you. And a lot of scorpion, like your Parabuthus family, would be neurotoxin venom. And that's why it's so medically important to know what scorpion stung you. As much as it goes for snakes, one has to know at least or be able to identify what snake bit you. It's for those purposes that we can either tell if it's a neurotoxin, which would be affecting your breathing system and so on, whereas your cytotoxic, for example, would be a tissue infecting venom that would make your tissues swell up and be very, very painful. On that note, I'm gonna leave you and send you to another beautiful location in Africa.
Thanks, Obi. We finally made it to Hukumuri, as you can see him right here on my steering wheel. How close enough and personal here, the closer I ever get of this male. He's probably on a hunt. The reason he come close to a car like this is probably never get used to use cars, audio, and as a hide as well. Don't see what he sees, but maybe he's been on a hunt since how long until he get into this position. Now I want to compare the size between Kalamba and him. Look at this size of her head, it's quite bigger than that female. Also this size of the body as well. It's probably one eye blind. But he will survive with another eye that is still okay, unless if he lost that too, then it's going to be a serious problem. Sorry everyone, he's so close to the car we can't pan the camera enough. I'm going to just have to see if I trying to follow him, but I cannot move right now since he's right close to my wheel. So he's looking probably, I know, he's actually very good on seeing far distances. It could be impalas or anything that he's actually behind it hunting. So he's now just going to take time, but it's so important that he's always, the wind is blowing to his face. So he's actually down the wind, which even there's a prey in front of him, they won't be able to smell him until they get close enough to it. Only worries me that this is actually very open area, and then they were probably going to spot him so far, even though then there's a very good advantage of wind blowing towards him. So he's off. At least he can just gonna spend him a few times just to see how he does this for us.
So welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, and speaking of smelling impalas in the distance, we've just found a very large herd of impala in a beautiful clearing. They look like they're starting to settle down for the night, but quite a few of them are looking nervous. Because this wind is so strong, their scent will easily carry to other predators. And especially now, like that, you can see that female on the front right, she's got quite a rounded belly. They're all very close to giving birth. They normally give birth around this time of the year. So they're extra cautious at the moment because they know they're a bit slower. And so they really want to make sure that they can see what's coming, especially now that it's getting darker and those leopards might be getting more active. I actually saw my first impala lamb for the season today. And it's something that I absolutely love. I think an impala is so beautiful. Especially now with the infrared light, you can actually see that darker color on its back. And that beautiful red is one of my favorite colors. So you can see all of these females have those lovely rounded bellies. There's the male at the back. So you can see the trees moving, you can see how windy it is. So this is exactly what the predators are counting on. Weather like this is perfect for hunting at night. So we're going to stay with them for a little while longer to see where they go from this clearing.
Wonderful. So we now had a full visual of a Okomori. He's just sitting right there in that wood, dry wood. But he hasn't stopped actually focusing on the far south. But he's probably hungry when I look at him, so he's gonna have to get something. Dinner. That can't be only the big prey species. Could be anything from scrap hares. It's getting slightly darker now. Wouldn't be any chance for dwarf mongoose and the squirrels because these are day animals. But pretty much scrap hare, size of those. And then even spotted thickneys as well, water thickneys, those birds. You will hunt those as well. Just to get a little bit of energy and get going until he gets succeed in killing big game, which then you will able to spend a lot of time feeding on that. Can you repeat that question again? Good afternoon, evening to you, welcome, sure. So that blind eye on the other side, it can only affect the wide angle. In terms of one eye, it's got at least one angle on the far side and the other one work on the other side. So now what you can focus on pretty much, would say 35 degrees instead of 85 degrees. And then this is when he just looks straight. But that's why when he walks, he just have to, turn his head every now and then, because the right hand side, it's then nothing happening. And only on the left hand side that eye will able to focus. But seen clearly, it's also still 100%. And only that, he has to work on swinging his neck every now and then just to get to see on the right hand side there. And that's why it's going to be at least a little bit difficult for him. If he ever lost that eye that is still fine for now, it's going to be very hard for this leopard to survive without any vision or see wherever he goes, and results of die because they are solitary animals. And the leopards that lost their eyes had quite a lot of time due to the few causes of probably killing prey that is got either a horn, stab a little bit close to that eye, could disturb their vision. Or sometimes, even when they fight between a male for territory, that could sometimes claw went right close to the eye, and that can disturb the vision for that animal. But I think he's still good in condition. I don't think there's anything would happen here. So everyone, we're coming to the end of our beautiful show, your beautiful show for this evening. We would like to just thank you so much for being part of the show, and we hope tomorrow we'll be up and mobile again and unite in the same channel, able to get to see what these animals do for us. Hopefully we'll get to find this hukumuri again tomorrow morning. Goodbye.